the great outdoors is very often a place of connections. And I'm going to give you a few examples. One time I was up in Haida Gwaii, you know that, in the north of what was the Queen Charlotte Islands. And I was working on my book on the national parks, and I had done all the right things and all the walks and all this. This was before it was an actual park, so I was up in the northern part. And on my own then, at that point, I went into one of the parts that have been really set aside where there are the huge, huge, huge trees, the unimaginably large trees. I mean, they make Stanley Park look like a little Lego place, right? And as I walked there all by myself in those huge trees, I felt a presence. And unlike our other storytellers, it wasn't the shrooms and it wasn't the stuff in the packets. But there was a decided presence, and it wasn't frightening, and it was lovely, and it wasn't people or anything, but a presence. And then another time, I was in the sort of where it's Arizona and New Mexico and all, and some of y'all probably know the Canyon de Chelly, right? Where the cliff dwellers, the cliff people, the Aboriginal people have lived there for millennia. And there's the big red cliffs that then curve inwards, and then on the sort of plateau, inward plateau, not really a cave, they've over the years built their homes, and there would be places for worship and ceremonies, and there would be the homes themselves, and then below in the valley was where they would farm and have their crops, and then could come up there and be safe from enemies because there were intertribal wars and stuff. And so it's a national park, and you were able to walk around there, and the buildings were now worn, so they were maybe waist high and some higher, and you could walk there. And I was with only one person who was far away. And as a child, I had read a lot about these places and stories of children who lived there. And again, I felt a presence, not knowing what. It was eerie, but it was beautiful. And there I was in that great outdoors. And then another time, bringing it a little back to BC here, I had gone with friends. We drove to Whistler, and we were helicoptered in to the mountains back there somewhere. I still don't know where they are, right? But you can go really far in a 25-minute helicopter ride. And I never, I'm used to, like, there's these beautiful Rockies. This stuff was really very, very rugged, very, very striking. And it just went on and on and on. And so we landed on this flat place, and there were mountains around us, and we were up at maybe 6,000 or 8,000 feet. And my friends were like really athletic. I mean, I was a runner, but I mean, they had the crampons, and all that, the ropes, and they were going to go and do some glacier walking. I took one look at that, this is not for me. I don't mind running, but I'm not going to do that. And so I just sat around, and I was sitting drawing and just, sketching and stuff. And I'm telling you, it is very bleak up there, very bleak, because it's all glacial till, and it's all gray, kind of gravelly, and I was just sitting against some rock. And it happened that it was the first anniversary of my mother's death. And incidentally and coincidentally, it was August 9th as well, but many years ago. And so I'm sitting there, and it's bright, it's sunny, it is a bleak circumstance, the environment, and suddenly a rainbow came. And it wasn't like the rainbows you get here, it's lower light, and that's coming in from the side. Out of absolutely nowhere, there was a rainbow. So I knew it was my mother. I knew she'd come to say hi. And even if I choke up about it, it wasn't a sad thing. Because I knew she was in effect saying to me, I'm so glad you could be out here. I'm so glad you could do this. Something she'd never had a chance to do. You have the 3 kids and a husband who's a compulsive gambler. You're not spending a lot of time in the great outdoors, friends. But there she was for that moment. And then let's leap to the Andes. Some years later, I was down working on my Galapagos Ecuador book. We're in the Andes, and again, at that time about 14,000 feet, and there's the valleys below, mountains above, and we're just walking along. I'm walking along with a guide, and we're parallel. It's just a little hike, just a little walk, and we're along llama trails or sheep trails. And suddenly, way up in the sky, there's the sun, and around it a sundog. You know what they are? They are in effect rainbows, right? And so they form this circle, and then there's sort of a space, and then there's the sun. And then between the sun and that rainbow were two Andean condors. You know, you don't see that every day. And again, I knew it was Mama. And I knew she would say, Mama wasn't the condor. Mama was a, you know, well, this can be carried only so far. But I knew it, and again, that she was happy that I could be in this marvelous place. And so that was a kind of connection with the great outdoors. But you know, it doesn't stop there, because it's this morning. I gotta tell you, this morning, okay? I'm jogging along by this tidal creek there on the North Shore, and you can kind of ignore that over there is Capilano Mall and Walmart, and over there is where they're, I don't know, probably tearing something else apart. And it's low tide, and along the banks lands a spotted sandpiper. Now, this may not mean a lot to you, but when I was working on my parks book, I was from the Yukon to Newfoundland, right? Summer after summer, working on this off and alone, freezing my butt at night, you know, writing my notes. I've said this before, computers, all right, my notes and everything. But in every single park, there was a spotted sandpiper. And I really love it because, for one thing, sandpipers, they all look alike. But this one had spots, you know. They didn't name it that for nothing. And then when it lands, I mean, well, you know, you're so relieved when you can identify one of them, right? And so also when they fly, they don't flap up and down gracefully. They just go from the horizontal down, which helps you identify them. And when they land, they tilt their little tail, see? So, but I've seen them in the Galapagos even. And so to me, that's like my spirit animal is a spotted sandpiper, friends. And this morning, there it is, again, great outdoors, and this connection, whether it was rainbows, whether it was a presence, whether it's your spotted sandpiper, right? There is this connection, and the great outdoors allows this, makes this opportunity. And so then I thought, well, here we are tonight. Even if all these plants were planted by somebody, you know, it's kind of artificial in this way, but we're grateful for it. We're out here. We are indeed in the great outdoors. We got the greatest moon, and are we not connecting with each other and other people and storytellers and each other, particularly judging from the waft of aromas you get here. And to speak of the wine and cheese, and I'm so grateful for that cake up there. But anyway, so it's a connection, it's a sharing, and I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for you being here for Rain City Chronicles, and thank you so much.